A very good morning to all my dear friends. I am Prashant Mavani. I hope you all are doing good. Today is 27th April 2020. Day is Monday. I'm sure you all have enjoyed your weekend. Dear friends, I was going through my diary which has a calendar and I came across this fact that today is Freedom Day of South Africa. So I thought let's start today's discussion with this quote by a leader of South Africa. He is Nelson Mandela. He said, "When the water starts boiling, it is foolish to turn off the heat." And I think what he is trying to teach us is that when we start anything new, let's say if you have started your preparation for a particular examination, or let's say if you have started doing physical exercises, so it will take few months before you see any sort of result. And if you see a little bit of result as well, that is a sign of boiling water. That the water is grabbing heat. Gradually, it is, incrementally, very slowly, it is boiling. So the thing that you should do is not give up, right? Never give up. That's it. That's what I think he is trying to tell us from this quote. Think about it. With this, dear friends, I would like to introduce all of you to our smart courses, which are designed by the best faculties of our country. You can see them on our screen, of course. And with this best faculties, we have some IAS officers as well. They have helped us in designing this whole smart course, which is available on our mobile application. It covers both pre as well as mains examination. Installment facility is also available, so you don't have to pay the full fee in one shot. You can opt for installments. And to find out more about it, all you have to do is download our mobile application on your phone. With this, dear friends, if you want to download the PDF of today's lecture, please make sure that you check out my Telegram channel. You will get PDF from my Telegram channel. With this, dear friends, I request you guys to please make sure that you share this lecture with other students. If you have learned something from today's discussion, hit the like button. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. On our table, we have 4 articles. The first one is this one, Safe Return. This one is about exodus of migrant people, particularly laborers, and the suffering and other things, and what we need to do. We are going to talk about it. Then we have Pandemic and Panic. This one is about Tamil Nadu. Last Saturday, that is day before yesterday, we were talking about this news item of Tamil Nadu. Remember that lockdown is going to, or there is going to be a severe curfew or lockdown in few cities of Tamil Nadu. So this has created a bit of problem for Tamil Nadu. Then we have a very interesting article by Rakesh Sood, and he's writing about a new nuclear arms race, which is very dangerous. And CTBT is one of the most important thing that we are going to talk about in today's discussion. And the fourth one is easy to understand. I'm going to spend just a few minutes after this long article. The reason is that we have already discussed important points about it. So it's about protecting poor people. So there are a few things that we need to understand here. So that's basically everything, and then we are going to talk about news items. So let's start our thorough discussion on this editorial called Safe Return. Now let me tell you this fact that we have one of the most stringent lockdown in the whole world, right? Most stringent global lockdown is in our country. India has the largest number of people under lockdown anywhere. So you can imagine 1.3 billion people under lockdown. It's not a small thing. Now, the biggest problem that we are facing at present, or people of our country are facing, is, and when I say biggest problem, it is being faced by not that much by middle class, not that much by rich class, but it is the poor people, as we all know. And I'm sure we all are aware about this thing as well. It's not just about coronavirus. We go back and see this Spanish flu, which we are going to talk about. The fourth article, we are going to go through some facts about Spanish flu and things, or the side effect of Spanish flu, or any other epidemics, or any other natural disaster, right? It's always the poorest of the poor, or the poor people, who suffer the most, right? Other people, they do suffer. But if you have money, right? If you have, let's say, 1 crore rupees in your bank account, then you may make some losses, but it will never come to that point that about your survival. You will be able to buy things. Even if milk will cost you 10 rupees extra, then as well you will be able to purchase milk. But there are crores of people in our country, right? They will not be able to feed milk to their kids, right? And when they don't get this sort of things, it's the upbringing of the kid that gets affected. They either go wasted or stunted, malnourishment and other sort of diseases as well. There are chances that they will catch. Now, late March, and we are at present in late April. So a month ago, central government informed Supreme Court that arrangements have been made to provide temporary shelters with food for migrant workers, particularly on highways. Some of them were on the outskirts of big cities. Some of them were in between these two borders, or they were, not that far from border of that particular state in which they were working. And there is also this thing that, of course, central government as well as state governments, they have tried their level best to give all these necessary items to all these people who are this migrant workers, right? They have tried their level best to provide them food, shelter facility. In some places, we have this temporary tents. In some places, local people as well, they have provided, let's say, I was going through some news items and I came across this fact that there are so many projects, right, highway projects, or this building sites are going on, and there are so many builders. They have provided their empty buildings, and even some of them have provided their completed buildings as well to these people, so that at least they have a roof on their head and they can survive here. This is one of the most important thing to understand, that if you provide shelter, if you provide them with this food items, and in case if they need any sort of medicine or something, if you provide this sort of things with electricity, right? And of course, if they have like, let's say, data connection on their mobile phone, then I'm not saying things will be normal, but things will be more bearable. They would be able to survive, right? They will not feel that pain, that constant pain. But the problem is that even today, thousands have continued to travel long distances. They are on their feet, of course, and they are heading towards their villages. So this indicates that they are not getting everything that they should be provided with, like food, shelter, and other things. And I think this is one of the main reasons why we find this latest reports that many of them are still traveling. They are still trying to reach their home. If they are doing this thing, then this indicates that there is a failure of management at grassroots level. Not all across our country, but yes, of course, in few pockets of our country. Finance Ministry has announced a big relief measure package, and we should appreciate central government as well as state governments for this sort of packages, right? They are doing their best, but the problem is that not each and every individual, we cannot say that 100% all poor people, migrant laborers and other vulnerable section will get this money. Many of them, they don't have their proper Aadhaar cards. Many of them, this is again, I'm repeating the same thing, but in short, right, not all of them are under this JAM Trinity, Jandan, Aadhaar and mobile. If you have this triangle where you have Jandan, Aadhaar and mobile connected and connected with each other, if your account is your mobile phone number is associated with your account, and if this is your Jandan, if your Aadhaar card and mobile is associated or linked with your Jandan account, then it becomes a bit easier for government as well to identify it. And this thing has helped us stop leakages to an extent, right? I'm not saying this is a perfect thing, but I think this is the best option that we have at present. But many of them are unfortunately not having all these three things. Their accounts are not having their mobile phones and Aadhaar cards, linked. So they are not getting all these benefits. So we need to sort out this thing. I would like to share one more example with you guys. There are so many ration shops in various villages. I'll give you one example, very short one, right? One of my relative, she's an old lady. She's living in a particular village in Gujarat, and we made some phone inquiries over there, and the best option was that ration shop in that particular village. So somehow we got the number of that person, the owner of that ration shop, and we had a discussion with that person. We told them that the poor lady here, right, old lady, she's living in your village, but she's not having any sort of coupon or anything, that ration card. And government has already said that you should provide, even if people are having ration card or if they are not having it, right, it doesn't matter. At present, you should provide them with food if they need, right, this food grains and other things. But that person said that he is going to help finally, right, he is going to help. So let me tell you that thing. But he said that he has not got any orders like that from his superiors. So this is just one example, right? This is a very practical example, right? It is not made up example. Unfortunately, I won't be able to give you the name of that town or that village and the lady I'm talking about. But this is, if you trust me, then this is a right or a real example that I have shared with you guys. So we have this sort of things as well. If we observe, then there are so many things that we need to repair on war footing, right? We don't have that much time, or else we will see this sort of situation. One thing that we have to appreciate is that, of course, lockdown has helped us. A few days ago, we were talking about this report that if there was no lockdown in case in our country, then by 15th April, our infection number would have clocked somewhere around 8.15, beg your pardon, 8,50,000 or something like that. 8 lakh plus cases, more than America. But thanks God, we implemented this lockdown on time. So fatality rate as well as infection rates are, reasonably speaking, under control. Now, we know this thing for sure, that so far we don't have any sort of medicine. And even if we get a medicine, it's going to take, I think, at least 1 year. As far as I know, it will take 1 year. If we develop a medicine, then as well it will take 1 year for it to reach to each and every country, in each and every village. So I think lockdown is going to be on-off thing now. It's not going to, means even after 3rd May, few pockets, they will get some sort of permission, but there will be partial lockdown, I think. I'm not sure, but I think, to the best of my knowledge. So what we need to do now is, if we are going to extend the lockdown for practical reasons, if we have to, then there should not be any excuse at all. Right, there should not be any excuse that for this reason we are not able to provide food, medicine, shelter to poor people, particularly the most vulnerable section of our society. People are also talking, there are a few states like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, etc. They are thinking about bringing these migrants back to their home, these migrant workers. If they can do it, if that is safe, if the government can guarantee a safety of these people, then they should do it. But I think they should be very careful. If you are taking someone on board on a train, then make sure that that person, if you have a little bit of doubt as well that that person is infected, then if you want to bring that person back, that's fine, but make sure you have some different coaches, right, quarantine coaches, where you can lock them, where you can separate them from healthy people, so that we don't find the spread of this coronavirus in different villages of our country. So enough about this article. Let's move on to next one, pandemic and panic. Again, this one is about coronavirus. Now, this is the infographic that I was talking about. Remember, last Saturday we talked about this Chennai, Madurai and Coimbatore. They had this, it was decided that from 26th, that is Sunday to Thursday, right, they are going to have this till Wednesday, they are going to have this severe lockdown in this 3 cities of Tamil Nadu, and in 2 cities they are going to have it till Tuesday. That was decided by Tamil Nadu government. Now the problem is that this created a sort of anxiety and panic, and people started coming out in big numbers. They were like, there was a big crowd, and they were chasing this essential goods. It was already said by the government that these are the things that will be allowed and these are the things that will not be allowed. But again, I think the problem is communication failure. And we need to learn this lesson from this sort of things, right? And this is not the first time this sort of thing has happened. In various different pockets as well, we have observed this sort of thing, that when you don't communicate properly, people will take it as a sort of, they think like it's going to be something big, and then all of a sudden people will start coming out and they will chase, and they will, they will gather in like big numbers nearby kirana or corner shops, and this can become a big disaster. I hope it does not, but the chances are that it may. I'm not saying it will, but it may. But let's hope, fingers crossed. Now, Tamil Nadu has done its, the best it can. So far, it has done everything that it can to quarantine people. They did systematic screening and monitoring of individuals at higher risk, contact tracing, community surveillance, etc. But this sort of things can destroy all your efforts, and average citizen can weather a lockdown. We were talking about this thing, isn't it? That if you provide food, medicines, and other essentials, then average citizen can weather a lockdown. Even if means they will feel a bit bored and not at their peak, but they can survive. And at present, survival is the most important thing. It's not about luxury. It's not about your happiness. When I say happiness, I mean to say that, of course, we don't like to stay within four walls, but this is the best thing that we have to do if we want to survive, right? And if we want our country to come out of this thing as soon as possible. Now, very interesting observation in this editorial. The biggest hurdle is this private vehicles. When you are allowed to take your private vehicles, and we know this thing that in our cities as well, there are a few points where you will find police people. You won't find police people in your society and in your small streets. So this is a big problem, right? I think government should take this decision that no private vehicle whatsoever should not be allowed. At the same time, we have to make sure that all essential articles are available at our doorstep. You don't have to step out. If you want food or anything, you can order online. If not online, then you can contact your local delivery people. You can contact your local kirana stores. They should be allowed to cater various houses, door-to-door facility. This is something that we need to permit, and we already have this Zomato and Swiggy and other apps. You can use their personnel if you want. Means we have to make some arrangements, but we can do this thing. As I have already told you that this is something that is going to be on and off. We don't know when we will be back to normal. It will take a bit of time. We have to prepare ourselves mentally, physically, and in every possible way. One more thing that this article is saying, and I think it is very interesting, it is talking about some sort of code or QR code. So yes, this is a very interesting thing that we can have a QR code. Let's say if you are a kirana store person, so you should have either a digital QR code in your phone. Of course, now we carry our phone everywhere, wherever we go, right? So you should have a QR code in your kirana store, of your kirana store as a PDF file or anything, so that if you are stopped by police personnel, then you can show this QR code and they can scan this QR code and they will know your address and everything, so that there is no sort of cheating, right? And it will tell you that how many people are allowed to carry this QR code, and if possible the names as well can be added here. You can have your driving license or something added to it, so that there is no cheating or duplication. So we can create this thing. We are an IT superpower, so for a country like India it's not a big deal. And this same QR code can be used by trucks and other people. Whoever is out there on road, they need to have this thing. If they don't have it, then necessary actions will be or can be taken. So if we do this thing, right, then it will help us. It will help us in controlling traffic, and we will not see this sort of thing. Because if people are supposed to walk alone and step out of their home, then it will become difficult. It will create a sort of a mental barrier for them, that they will feel a bit lazy or bored to step out. And if they will step out, then it will be definitely something very important. Only then they will step out. This is a thing that we need to try. Then we have a very interesting article, At the Edge of a Nuclear Arms Race. Rakesh Sood, a very interesting writer, a former diplomat as well. So this article starts with this report. Mid-April, USA came out with this report called Compliance Report. Full form is Adherence to and Compliance with Arms Control, Non-Proliferation and Disarmament Agreements and Commitments. And this report said that, or USA said that China has been conducting nuclear tests at its Lop Nur test site, which is violation of a comprehensive nuclear test ban treaty, also known as CTBT. This report also said that Russia has done the same thing, and I have a question for you, but before that, let's quickly locate these three countries here. So you have USA, you have Russia, and China. Now, I think you'd be aware about this thing, but we don't think about this thing that much, that Russia and USA are neighboring countries, isn't it? If you look at the map, right, remember the world is round, so this portion of Alaska is not that far from this portion of Russia. There is a strait that divides this two land portions. So can you give me the name of the strait, right? The strait of... What is the name of that particular strait that divides Russia and USA's Alaska? So that's a question number 1 for you. Now, these three countries are against each other. Of course, when it comes to being against the USA, then you have these two friends, Putin and Xi Jinping, or China and Russia are on same page when it comes to USA. But when it comes to strategic weapons, of course, at present USA is a superpower, but the other two countries, they would like to see themselves as superpowers. So there is a growing rivalry among major powers, and this CTBT, it came into being in 1996, and we are going to go through the history of CTBT. Very interesting articles, as I told you. So what does the CTBT ban mean? For decades, a ban on nuclear testing was seen as the necessary first step towards curbing the nuclear arms race, but Cold War politics made it impossible. Cold War politics started, or this whole Cold War started between USSR and USA, started from somewhere around 1950s, and the end came in 1991 after this USSR was no more USSR, then we saw few countries taking place. So there was a sort of deunification of USSR. So 1996, this CTBT came into being, but it failed to enter into force, and we are going to find the answer of why it failed. So before this 1996 CTBT, in 1963, partial test ban treaty was concluded. It was predominantly between these major powers, US and USSR, and it was decided that there will be no underwater testing, there will be no atmospheric testing, but they started doing underground testing, right? And this was not these two countries, but other countries as well did a little bit of underground testing. By the time the CTBT negotiations began in Geneva in 1994, global politics had changed, because in 1991, USSR was not there. So the Cold War had ended and the nuclear arms race was over at that point of time. These two countries, USA and Russia in 1991 unilaterally decided that it is going to keep a moratorium, or it's going to end this testing. And after 1 year, USA also said that it is going to end this testing. But by time, they have already conducted, till 1992, USA conducted 1,054 tests and Russia conducted 715 tests. And this is a big thing. These are not small figures, right? We are talking about nuclear tests here. The negotiations started right after this 1992, after this USA's declaration. And after 1994, this negotiations started, this CTBT negotiations. France and China, they said that they want to do this and that, and France and USA, they had their own demands, right? Every country was trying to get the biggest share of the cake. So France and USA, they came out with this idea. They said that tests should be permitted, but on low threshold, like they can go for 500 ton of TNT equivalent nuclear bombs. So this is 1/30th of a Little Boy. Little Boy was a bomb that was dropped by USA on Hiroshima on 6th August 1945. So that bomb was equivalent to 15,000 tons of TNT. So this country started asking for a 1/30th of that Little Boy. Other countries were having their own demands. So civil society and non-nuclear weapons, non-nuclear weapon states, they said that this is a very dangerous thing. You are not, you are basically, you are negotiating and you are saying that there should be a smaller bombs. That means you don't want to stop it altogether. So it was decided that the pressure was rising, that we need to stop it as soon as possible, and there should be a zero yield, that is comprehensive test ban, there should not be any sort of tests, supercritical or bigger bombs or smaller bombs, doesn't matter, there should be zero yield, no test at all. That was decided. And USA was able to convince UK and France, and then later on Russia and China also came under pressure. But at home, USA was pumping more money and more science, and it was giving more support to increase this nuclear stockpile. And in the outer world, it was saying, or trying to convince countries that they should stop this thing. So this sort of things were going on. Then we have this Article 14 of CTBT. India is not happy with this CTBT, and India said that we have two neighbors, for example, right? If we go a bit deeper, then we find that we have on one side Pakistan, on one side we have China. With both these countries, till 1996, we already had a few wars, right? With one with China and a couple of them with Pakistan. And so we said that we cannot get rid of all our weapons because we have two enemies on our sides. We were not having weapons, but we did testing during this Indira Gandhi's time. So countries were knowing that India is capable of. India was knowing the formula and everything about this nuclear weapons. But then UK, China and Pakistan, they came out with this new thing called entry into force provisions. The new provisions listed 44 countries by name whose ratification was necessary for the treaty to enter into force, and this included India as well. Now, India protested. India said that this is more like arm twisting. But forget about India. Even if you see this 44 countries, the main list that was prepared, right? In this 44 countries, out of these 44 countries, 36 have ratified the treaty. But then you have other countries like China, Egypt, Iran, Israel, USA. They have signed, but they have not ratified this treaty. China says that only after USA ratifies it, we will ratify it. Basically, let me tell you, there are two steps, for a treaty. First, you sign it. Your country will sign this treaty. And once you sign it, you have to ratify it with your parliament. That your parliament will pass it. Then that's a final thing. So roughly 5 countries, they have not done this thing. Out of this 44, only 36 have ratified the treaty. So they have signed and ratified it. And North Korea, India, Pakistan, these countries, they have not signed it either. So this is the main problem, that everyone wants the biggest share of nuclear pie. And then the world conducted, this CTBTO, that is Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization, came into being in Vienna. They have 230 persons working. Annual budget is $130 million. And CTBTO has refrained from backing the USA's allegations. CTBTO gets the highest money from USA. That is very ironical. And CTBTO runs an elaborate verification system built around a network of over 325 seismic radionuclide, infrasound, and hydroacoustic underwater monitoring stations. So it's like a watchdog. Now the competition is back. Because after this tariff war, now we have this epidemic crisis, and Mr. Trump has embarked on a 30-year modernization plan with a price tag of $1.2 trillion. Last year, Russia launched a hypersonic delivery system. A modernization program is going on in China as well. And out of this total nuclear weapons of the world, 90% belongs to Russia and USA. And this is an excuse by China. China is saying that we have only a tiny portion of nuclear weapons. So our doing testing is not going to be, but at the end of the day, it is adding to the total of nuclear weapons. And Russia and USA, they have this new START, that is New Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty. This is going to end in 2021, and it looks like they are not going to extend it further. So these are the challenges. So basically, arms race is on, right? It is on again, and that's a very dangerous signal. Last article, protecting the poor from becoming poorer. Not difficult to understand. We have already talked about this thing early on as well, right? We know that the most affected one are the poor people. If you go back and read the history of Spanish flu of 1918, we find that it killed nearly 50 to 100 million people around the world, and India suffered a lot. India was a very poor country at that point of time. India lost some 18 million lives, or 6% of our population, the highest anywhere in the world. The USA lost to 6,75,000 people in this Spanish flu. And economically vulnerable people have poor nutrition, which lowers their immunity. They live in crowded spaces, making it easier for the disease to spread, and they have inadequate access to safe water, sanitation, and quality health care. So the bottom line here is that the government has released a package, of course, but it is for short term. What we need to prepare ourselves for the long term as well, because if you go through this Douglas Almond's report, he came out with this report, and it proved that children born to infected mother were 15% less likely to graduate from high school. The wages of men were 5 to 9% lower because of infection, and the disability rate 20% higher compared to the birth cohorts not affected by the flu. So coronavirus will also have a long-term effect on people, so we need to provide them long-term as well as short-term and long-term relief measures. News items. Prime Minister Narendra Modi in his Mann Ki Baat has said that we should not lower our guards. We have to be vigilant. We have to remain careful. This is the key. Right, after 3rd May, hopefully this lockdown will become a bit more easier, but that does not mean that we should spit here and there. We should not wear masks. We have to be as careful as we are in lockdown season. India's progression, right, we have reasonably performed well, but when we compare ourselves with countries like Ireland and Switzerland, then we are a bit behind them. But I think we cannot compare India with Switzerland and Ireland. First, they are developed countries. Second, they have advanced medical facilities, and third, they don't have that dense. They are not densely populated countries. If you see from density point of view, then India is performing reasonably well. Then there was a survey conducted nationwide. 180 companies participated in this CII survey, and 46% said that permits to operate were either not made available or were delayed. 42% said that workers were either not readily provided or were delayed. 62% of firms said the transport facility for inputs and finished goods were either not available at all or were disrupted and delayed. And 31% firms said daily commute of workers is an issue, and 36% said it is somewhat of an issue. Executives are best to deal with this sort of pandemic, has been said by CGI. CGI said that executives, they have this 3 M's, that is man, material, and money. Man jumps quarantine and he infects 6 other people. That's a very sad thing. Then we have these figures of southern states. You have Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Telangana. Right, numbers are there on your screen. You can, of course, download the PDF and go through them. If you are belonging to any particular state, then you should know your figures. Mumbai is, in a very bleak situation. 358 new cases, 12 deaths. Total cases of Maharashtra has crossed 8,000 mark. Gujarat is also not doing that great. 230 new cases. So that's again a warning numbers. Australia cancels a premier air exercise with India because of coronavirus, of course. The name is Pitch Black 2020. And I have a question for you. We have a bilateral naval exercise with Australia. What is the name of that exercise? Stick your answer in the comment section. Herat, that is in Afghanistan, struggles to implement lockdown. 6 weeks on, Spain lets children step out under, of course, observation of their parents. And Kim Jong-un's train spotted at Wonsan town. Still, things are not clear about his health. But that's everything in today's discussion, dear friends. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please make sure that you share this lecture with other students. Hit the like button if you have learned something from today's discussion, and stick your answer in the comment section. I'll see you with daily financial news analysis. Till then, God bless you all. Stay safe. Jai Hind.